Hi, I have in front of me an 8-channel AHD or analog high definition DVR. This is suitable for both professional and home use as well. AHD is a huge leap forward in terms of picture quality, and the cameras that would use with this that are in the range are 720p or 1 megapixel. Okay. So the reasons that these are going to be so popular is number one, the picture quality. Number two, that this product has been designed specifically for the Irish and UK market. It's proved hugely popular in the UK simply because the user interface on it's so easy. It's so easy to set up for mobile viewing. It's the same software regardless whether you buy the 4:8 or the 16-way DVR. And most importantly, the price point on it. Roughly before, AHD used to be twice the price of, we'll say, a good professional 960H DVR. Something like this is coming in at a comparable price to where the old ones were. So it's about 40 to 50% cheaper than the previous models of AHD onto the market. So for that reason, we've invested big into this in terms of we think it's great. The alternative to AHD for the type of picture quality we're looking for would be something to come along and go for IP. But the big disadvantage there is it needs a very different skill set in terms of how to set up IP and, most importantly, how to debug it if you do have a problem. And also in terms of if we're moving from a traditional camera system we have, maybe some 500 and 600 TVL cameras, maybe even a 960H thrown in, what you'll find is the cabling in terms of the Bnc connections, the power units, all the rest of it is exactly the same. And also in terms of mixing and mashing cameras, you can have a whole range of different spec cameras onto this DVR because it's backward compatible. So you can add in some new high 1 megapixel cameras and also have the older ones on it. So the format here is I'm going to show exactly what comes in the box here. We have a detailed look at the unit itself, and then we'll give a demonstration of the main menus on it here as well. Okay. So in relation to this DVR here, we'd recommend for an 8-way at least a 2 terabyte. It can support up to a 4 terabyte hard drive inside. Okay, if we come along here, we'll see the outer box here, and we see the model number on it here, OAHD-D8. Okay, there's a 3-pin plug with it here, and if we look at the power output on it here, it's 12 volt 2 amp, which is impressive. And then what we have here then as well is we have a mouse we can use with it. We have a user manual, which is in English, just a quick set up in a mini CD here, and we have 4 screws here, which is used for actually fixing in the hard drive. So we're going to do this point here is I'm just going to come along, I'm going to look at the front of the unit, and we'll just talk a little bit further on it there, okay? So, step around there. So the first thing to note in relation to this is we've got an IR sensor, and then we've 3 indicators on it here. The first one is to say whether it has power, whether it has a hard drive, or has a recording currently. Okay. But then we have, if we weren't using the mouse, we could actually come along here and we could just jump straight in. And we could use escape, play, bring up menus, arrow over left and right as well. So there's certain functionality there with it, and that can be convenient. And if we rotate and look at the back of the unit here, the first thing we'll notice here is the video inputs are all Bnc. So it's traditional Bnc connections, and it's simply numbered 1 to 8. So 1 starting here, 8 at the bottom corner. In terms of the audio inputs on it, it's limited to 4 audio inputs. Most times you're not using audio inputs at all, but there is an option of using it on 4 of the cameras. And what we have then is a Bnc video output or audio output. Normally, again, this is just not used anymore. Could be, but normally isn't. People are going to go with VGA, which is audio or video only, or more likely HD, so you can run directly to a TV or monitor with that, and you have both audio and your high definition picture on it. And in terms of networking then, we have a LAN connection here, and what we have is 2 USB options here for adding hard drives, a mouse, something like that. So we could use it for extracting recordings, upgrading firmware, things like that. If we look at the connection here, marked AB, we just look at the bottom here and it says RS485. So it's to give control to our PTZs. We can run it directly in here. And then we have the power input, which is 12 volts. So we come along here and we look at the main show here. What we can do is we can just go into the main menu, and we'll see the user thing will come up, and admin, and then the password is pre there, and it's just basically 1, 2, all the way up to 6, okay? And while we're in here, we have the recording options on it. Now, I'm going to warn you at this point here, we've actually, for the demonstration videos for both the 4:8 and the 16-way, we're just going to use the 4-way DVR here. And the reason we're doing that is purely because it's exactly the same menu structure all the way through, okay? So there's no point changing it out. So this would just be all the way out to 8. You can choose whether you're going to be using the different ones. how many you're going to record. If you're going to be using it manually, turn it off, go into an automatic mode. Video here, it's detecting that it's a 720p camera on it. We could choose the frame rate, the CBR rate, etc. In terms of how we're going to record it down, and we also have a substream option, so how we want to be broadcasted out for on a substream. So we have the different options there. We can just cancel out there. We'll go into the backup mode here, and we can format the external thing where we're going to put it onto a backup. We actually have no internal hard drive in it currently, but you can see the general logic there. And what we have there is the networking. So we have the straightforward on it. Now, one of the great things on this is because of the use of QR codes, we'll show in a few moments time, the setup this is extremely easy. But we'll say we have an advanced there, and then we have the network status on it there as well. Okay, so this part of it's much easier than in previous ones, and we'll give an option how we can do that. In terms of the PTZ configuration here, Pelco D here, so we can set up the various cameras here. We can have all PTZs directly and choose which one and set it up and control it directly from the DVR or from our app then remotely. The HD hard drive management here. What we could do here is we could just do formatting of it, but again, of course, currently we have no hard drive fitted on it. The P2P is excellent here in terms of the QR codes. If we had a smartphone with a QR code scanner on it, all we'll do is just an app will come along, we'll scan it in, and it'll lead us directly to the Android or the iPhone app suitable for this particular device. We'll download it then, and depending on how we want to progress from that point, we could actually use the UUID here to actually set it up, and within maybe 60 seconds or so, then we can have it up and actually viewing it directly onto our phone. So from that perspective, it's absolutely super. That's a huge advance on what went before. If we click into the system here, we'll see the different options we have here. General, accounts, switch modes, displays, etc. So just look at display here, for instance, actually. So we're just able to the channel, title, time, all the rest of it, how we wanted to do it, and tour and the different configurations there. Now we're going to go into some of these in a lot more detail, individual videos as we go along. We have a restore option here, maintain, upgrade. So you can just come back out here, and then just go back down, and if I right click again, we can see here we can just bring into PTZ control, color setting, playback, record mode, view 1, view 4, info, logout, etc. So it's all pretty easy menu driven stuff on it. So really in terms of the technology that's behind this, in terms of its ability to work with older cameras that have a much lower resolution, that's really handy because it means if people are trying to upgrade existing systems and they can go for some new higher cameras, just change out the DVR, go for something like this and keep the same cabling, etc. And indeed the same skill sets if you're somebody who's installing these. In terms of being able to compete with IP, we'll say, you know, it's coming in at 1 megapixel there. So it's a really, really good, strong picture quality on it, sufficient for a lot of things. And what we'll see here is, this is really the advent of AHD. But this is really, we would say, I don't want to use a cliche like a game changer, but really in terms of what it's done to the market here is, it's made it very, very simple for people to move from, let's say, a 960H DVR over to an AHD DVR here, simply because it's coming in at a very similar price point. And you're future-proofing your investment, and it's just giving a much higher picture quality, and the setup on it is so much simpler than what went before. So we have in stock, let's say, the 4, the 8 and the 16-way DVRs inside the AHD range, all available with free delivery from freetv.ie.